Well, it's the 2nd of July. I think it's time to show you a update of what's been going on my train layout. So we'll take you downstairs into my train room. Some of the stuff that I've been doing is painting the backdrop here between the two sides of the peninsula. But most importantly, what I've been working on recently is the branch line, which I've now got completely finished. I've finished the track work. I'm going to run you along where the branch line goes. It comes out of this tunnel back here, and right there's the switch into the branch line. This is right behind the yard that is out on the layout. So you switch onto the branch line, you go up a 3% grade behind my freight station and up into the upper level. As we come to the river, we have a bridge over the river and some of the backdrop that I finished. And then we have a switchback with a passing siding here, which goes back up to a coal mine area back in the corner of the layout. Now what you see there is a paper mock-up of what will eventually be a coal mine. I'll be able to run 6 cars through there at a time. A little bit of room for a runaround. Now if you notice, I have not finished doing the backdrop here. I put on a base coat in some of the three-dimensional mountains and some of the background mountains. Made a cutout for where the mine's going to be in the mountain here. You can see the flat three-dimensional mountains and the flat mountains behind them. As we get back down into here, we got to the part where I have actually done some of the backdrop work. So we're now back to the beginning of the switchback, but the branch line continues across the river and it continues quite a ways down the layout on the upper level, past these background mountains, past foreground mountains that I have yet to do any scenery. There's a passing siding here about in the middle of the layout. I've temporarily put a little station here and a water tower. Right now I'm only running a diesel engine up here, but maybe someday hope to have some steam running up here. And we go down further and through the main mountain in the middle of the layout. We have a long tunnel through there. I've made the mountain so that I can actually lift the top of this big mountain off if absolutely necessary. I've also put a re-railer in the middle of the tunnel, so if something does bounce off, hopefully I can get it back on. So as we come through the mountain, we come out the mountain here and continue on down to the other coal mine, which is right down here. Now in this area, these are just temporary scenery that I've stuck here. A friend of mine, John Dow, gave me some trees and pieces of stuff that was from when he had a layout, and so I put them up here just to see what it would look like. And I kind of like the look of it. Of course you have to keep in mind that it won't be pink and green foam, it'll be better landscaping. And this is the other mine that I'm going to have down here at the very end of the branch line. This structure may not be the final mine. I have a craftsman kit that I'm thinking about building in the distant future, but for now this will do. So that is my branch line. So now I think I'll take and run a train around the layout to give people an idea of what the layout looks like. as a train runs around it. Let's go over to the yard that's on the layout. I've chosen this Western Maryland freight train to run around. So let's start him up. There he goes. Hopefully he'll run around the layout nicely. In front of the freight station. It's now coming out of the yard past a passenger station and coming onto the main line. And heading up a slight grade to where the river area is. I'm going to widen it a little bit so you can see the relationship of the front and the back part of the layout. This is basically a shelf layout, it's about 2 feet deep. There's the river crossing. Now he's going to be heading into a canyon. And I will move over here so you can see him coming down the canyon. I've got a double line coming down the canyon. I was originally going to have a tunnel in this area, but was worried about derailments and stuff like that, so I decided to have an open tunnel, make it a canyon instead. So it's a little hard to see the train, but that is on purpose. Oh, I see I've lost part of my train. Well, I'm not going to stop the video now for that, so we'll just keep on going. We're now coming past Center City. We have a couple of new buildings here in Center City. One is the headquarters of Maryland and Southern, right there. And another one is back along this street. It's the A1 Hotel, built by John Dow. And these will be proud additions to my Center City, which is on a hill in the middle of a peninsula in the middle of the layout. So as we go passing through Center City, come out into a fairly rural section of the layout. This will be mostly just trees. There's a small industry. Haven't decided what to put there yet. You can see the branch line above and behind the main line. Now we're coming to where we're going to be going into another tunnel at the end of the layout here. This tunnel goes into a closet in the back side of my basement. So now we'll go over into the closet through the door here. Make a right into the closet. We have my staging yard here, which represents the rest of the world. But for now, I'm just going to show the train looping through the closet and back out onto the layout. The noise you hear in the background is the one sound decoder that I have in a diesel engine, diesel passenger engine. So my little train is going back out onto the layout, so we now leave the closet and walk back out onto the layout room. And just about time for the train to come out of the tunnel from the closet and back through what will probably be another city here, a town, and into the rural area. There's the coal mine and the branch line up above and behind. And now he's heading up the hill on the return part of the main line. Skirting the edge of the mountain, front edge of the mountain. Behind, here's Center City on the right side of the screen. He's going behind Center City and skirting the mountain, the big mountain in the middle of the layout. Once again, there's Center City. I'm going to go around the other end of this peninsula and pick up my train again. As he now comes up the hill, and he will be crossing over the canyon this time on a bridge, which includes a passing siding, bridge to be built in the future. Passes a small rural stop with a siding for a mill here. The blue tape is where I'm thinking about putting a road in the future. It's just temporary. And now my train is coming down a slight slope and coming up to cross over the river again on its way back to the yard. Continuing his downhill run. He's now in front of the switchback part of the branch line, going behind a few industries. At this point he goes around in front of the coal mine on the branch line, but behind the freight station, and will be entering the tunnel in the middle of my peninsula. Now the tunnel is in the middle of the peninsula and separates the train from one side of the peninsula to the other. This is the yard side. There's the middle of the peninsula, and you can see in a minute a train coming out. This will now be a city/industrial area on the front side of the peninsula as you come down the stairs. The train passes another passenger station and will continue on down the peninsula. Some temporary buildings set up. I have temporary tracks set up. I have not done anything permanent on this part of the layout yet. Enters another tunnel through the middle of the layout. And comes out on the yard side of the layout. And now he'll be entering the yard. And hopefully I'll throw in the switches so he goes back to where he came from. And I'm wrong. He didn't. But back in the yard. This yard is not finished. I have kind of finished the storage part of the yard, which is these tracks here. But behind, I intend to have a roundhouse, turntable, and along near the backdrop part of the yard will be an engine servicing model where I'll be able to store and service engines that come into the yard. I currently don't have any way on the layout, no operating round table to turn the trains around. Eventually, I hope to have an operating round table right here in this yard. That's what that round piece of cardboard represents, a future round table, turntable. But that is basically it for now. That's the status of my railroad here on July 2nd, 2012.